Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Thursday, February 27th, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. A victory for President Trump and his effort to stop USAID from spending billions of dollars on foreign aid projects, what the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court determined, and what happens from here. And breaking news this morning, death of an award-winning actor and his wife. Authorities find Gene Hackman, his spouse, and their dog dead inside their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. What we know so far as we look back on the life of a Hollywood legend.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
After the Trump administration failed to comply with a judge's order to stop withholding foreign aid, U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts stepped in before last night's deadline, saying the U.S. Agency for International Development and the State Department do not need to immediately pay contractors more than $1.5 billion for work already completed. Straight Arrow News reporter Kaylee Carey explains the impact this order might have.
A federal judge has reversed a Trump administration order that cut off funds to global projects, ruling that payments must be restored. After no action was taken to comply with the initial ruling, the judge gave the government until Wednesday to make it right. Under President Trump's orders, millions of dollars to the U.S. Agency for International Development were temporarily halted. District Judge Amir Ali ruled on Tuesday that government officials must resume funding and follow his original decision from nearly 2 weeks ago on the 13th. Part of his decision cited the damage caused by the lack of funding to the world's most impoverished nations. The Department of Government Efficiency, which focuses on reducing wasteful government spending, investigated U.S. aid. The scrutiny intensified when Trump took office and signed an executive order placing a 90-day pause on all federal aid designated for foreign projects. The agency provides $40 billion in assistance each year, typically to humanitarian efforts. Several contractors and organizations sued the Trump administration over his directive to halt funding, which many rely on for efforts like food security and disaster recovery. For instance, officials said the UN World Food Program is still waiting on more than $820 million to continue distributing resources. The plaintiffs presented evidence in court showing Trump officials had not lifted the hold on the money. While the Justice Department failed to provide an answer about whether the administration had followed the judge's previous order, the attorney representing the U.S. Aid and State Department said in a court order the 11:59 deadline isn't possible because close to $2 billion in payments are owed. The Washington Post reports that many organizations dependent on the funding haven't received payments for the final portion of 2024 before Trump was sworn in. The defendants, U.S. Aid and the State Department, issued an appeal to the judge's ruling on Tuesday. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Kaylee Carey.
In another move, as part of the president's directive, the Trump administration said it's ending nearly 10,000 USAID and State Department contracts and grants. President Trump's cabinet and Elon Musk came together for the first time yesterday. For a little more than an hour, President Trump touted his administration's work so far and answered questions on everything from Musk's efforts to downsize the federal government to negotiations to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Despite not being a member of the cabinet, Musk took the floor first to outline the work of the Department of Government Efficiency.
So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the DOGE team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here, and taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd like to stack them up, you know.
Musk's presence among Trump's cabinet picks came amid some confusion, stemming from an ultimatum that federal workers list 5 of their weekly accomplishments or face possible termination. The move ended up creating different responses among cabinet members, as multiple agency heads told their employees to hold off on replying. When Musk was asked by a reporter if any cabinet members were unhappy, the president answered for him.
Hang on, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with it? If you are, we'll throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy?
President Trump added that federal employees who did not respond to Musk's email are on what he calls a firing bubble. One of his top advisors told reporters, "It's simple. Trump wants federal workers to come back to the office and prove they are working, since they are getting paid." At the cabinet meeting, the president also addressed the United States' continued support for Ukraine, saying he won't be giving many security guarantees, which Ukrainian President Zelensky, who is set to visit Washington tomorrow, has said would be a key part of any agreement to end the war with Russia. At the same time, Trump said Russian President Vladimir Putin will likely have to make some concessions of his own to bring an end to the war, but he did not say what those might be. President Trump also told the cabinet he's still planning to push tariffs on foreign countries to improve the economy, and singled out the European Union specifically, saying it left the United States with billions of dollars of debt and was formed to, quote, screw the United States, his words. The United States has now marked its first measles death in a decade. A school-aged child in Lubbock, Texas, who was not vaccinated, died after being hospitalized with the virus. The death is part of a bigger outbreak, which now has 124 confirmed cases, most of them in children who are unvaccinated. Texas health officials say 18 people have been hospitalized. As Straight Arrow News has previously reported, there has been an outbreak in a West Texas Mennonite community near the New Mexico state line, where many people lack access to medical care. During yesterday's cabinet meeting, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appeared to downplay the severity of the outbreak.
Watching it, we put out a post on it yesterday, and we're going to continue to follow it. Incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
Kennedy has a long history of dismissing the threat of measles and has questioned the effectiveness of vaccines. The CDC says measles was declared eradicated in the United States in 2000 thanks to its vaccination program. However, vaccination rates for the MMR vaccine have dropped slightly in recent years. The U.S. is out with new rules when it comes to transgender troops. In a Pentagon memo filed in court Wednesday, the military is directed to identify trans service members by March 26th, which is 4 weeks away, and separate or remove them unless they acquire a waiver by late June. The policy follows President Trump's executive order, which seeks to block transgender troops from serving. His order defines only 2 sexes, male and female, and states that gender dysphoria is incompatible with military service. In addition, the military has halted recruitment of transgender troops. In order to obtain a waiver, the Pentagon's memo says a military member would have to demonstrate they have never attempted to transition to any sex other than their sex. Transgender troops have filed a federal lawsuit trying to block Trump's executive order, but the U.S. district judge overseeing the case postponed her decision until the Pentagon policy was released. Meantime, a separate development, the Pentagon's top public affairs official sent out a memo requiring military services to spend hours poring over website postings, photos, news articles, and videos, and remove any mentions that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the Middle East, Hamas says it's ready for the next round of talks with Israel about extending the ceasefire in Gaza, which expires this weekend. It comes after more than 600 Palestinians were released from Israeli jails overnight in exchange for the militant group's return of the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. It was the final exchange of the first phase of the ceasefire. Negotiations over a second phase, in which Hamas would release dozens of remaining hostages in exchange for more prisoners and a lasting ceasefire, have not yet begun. In a statement, Hamas said the only way for Israel to secure the release of the remaining hostages is through negotiations and honoring the agreement. Meanwhile, the Associated Press is reporting an Israeli official says Israel will not withdraw from a strategic corridor in the Gaza Strip, which it had agreed to as part of the first phase of the ceasefire. The official said Israeli forces need to stay in the Philadelphia corridor on the Gaza side of the border with Egypt to prevent weapons smuggling. Israel was supposed to begin withdrawing from there on Saturday, the last day of the first phase, and complete the withdrawal within 8 days. Refusal could ruin chances of extending the ceasefire, but that remains to be seen. And now turning to the breaking news this morning concerning legendary actor Gene Hackman. Authorities found Hackman, his wife, and their dog dead inside their Santa Fe, New Mexico home Wednesday afternoon during a welfare check. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office says they do not suspect foul play in the deaths of the 95-year-old actor and his 63-year-old wife, Betsy Arakawa, a classic pianist. Authorities have not said what might have led to their deaths. Hackman, known for his iconic roles in The French Connection, Bonnie and Clyde, The Royal Tenenbaums, and Hoosiers, was one of the most accomplished actors of all time. He won 2 Oscars, 3 Golden Globes, and the Cecil B. DeMille Award. Finally this morning, we're getting a look at some never-seen-before works by prolific artist Pablo Picasso. Known as a master of Cubism, the new exhibition in Rome is not just focusing on the renowned 20th century painter's style, it's highlighting his heritage as well. Picasso the Foreigner is highlighting how the Spanish immigrant's art was shaped by his status as an outsider in France, where he spent most of his adult life. The 5 never-before-seen works are being displayed alongside nearly 100 more of Picasso's pieces, as well as documents, photographs, letters, and videos. Pretty neat. Those are your unbiased updates for this Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.